Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
For writers and public personalities, it's becoming increasingly important to have an online presence. This normally takes the form of a website and social media. However, things like a cluttered site or broken links can scare potential readers away. It's time to get a health check. Until the 30th of June, Black Wolf Editorial Services is offering a special website health check package. Get a new bio for your site. Have the site navigation and general layout assessed. Get a review of your Twitter activities. Get an objective opinion about your public Facebook page. Find out what works well and what could potentially scare your readers away. And all this for $35. At the end of the day, the face we put online will be the one that most people will see. Let us help you put your best foot forward. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For full details and a list of other services, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark. The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View. All right, this is Jessie, and welcome to my Saturday Slowdown. Now, you know I'm often not alone on Saturday, and today is no exception. I have a candidate for U.S. Senate, but not just any candidate. I've got a libertarian from Colorado by the name of Lily Tang Williams. And you know what? There's something interesting about her. She wasn't born in this country. She was born in China. All right. Let me let her tell a little bit more about herself. Lily, how are you doing today? And thank you for being with me.
Well, yes, thank you for having me. I'm doing great.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So tell me, okay, you were born in China. I can't even imagine the cultural differences between the U.S. and China, and what could motivate you to run for Senate in your new country. All right, Lily, I can't imagine, A, the cultural differences between the U.S. and China, or what could motivate you to run for U.S. Senate in your new adopted country. And I think it's amazing that you are. But do tell me, first of all, what was it like in China? How much different is it here? And what prompted you to do so, to basically serve the public in your new adopted country?
Well, in summary, I tell people why I'm running for U.S. Senate. It's because I hate to see the country I love becoming more like the country I left. And I grew up in Mao's China. I was born right before the 10 years Cultural Revolution. So I was born into poverty.
Okay, for those that aren't familiar with Chinese history, when was the Cultural Revolution?
It's 1966 to 1976. I was born 1964, so 2 years before that.
Okay, so what was it like growing up in Mao's China? I can't even imagine it.
Well, when my memory started, the strongest, childhood memory I have is just, hunger. We lived on food ration coupons by the government. We had a family of 5. We were giving 2.2 pounds of pork per month for family of 5. We have to
2.2 pounds of pork a month.
Right, you can eat for one meal today, right?
Well, not quite one meal, but that would probably do 2.2 pounds of meat would probably last our household a week, maybe if I stretch it.
Yeah, well, we had the coupon stamps from government to buy wheat and to buy wheat flour, to buy rice, to buy sugar. So basically, government put us on food rationing because economy was so bad. There were not enough supplies for food. I remember as a child, I'm the oldest 3 children. I had to get up in the winter mornings to stand in long line to get a bag of 5 pounds potatoes. Otherwise, they'll be sold out. If you show up late, and nothing will be left. So I had to get up. It was so cold. I remember I took my little stool with me. I can sit down if I'm tired. But then most time, every 20 minutes or so, I got to keep jumping up and down to keep myself warm. It was outside, long line. And if we run out of money to buy vegetables, as oldest child, I was told by my parents just to get some green stuff with whatever is green, come back and boil, put some hot sauce on, then you put on top of your rice. Because money does run out when you're really tired. You don't have money to buy just even regular vegetables. Black beans, like meat, eggs, milk powder, all will be luxury items that we could not afford. And my parents are 6 days a week for the state factory, and they could not keep us fed. We're always struggling with money. And talk about living conditions. Just imagine you have 8 families living in a courtyard and with 1 bathroom and 1 faucet. That means that
we have trouble with 2 people in our house with 2 bathrooms and 2 cats. Now, I will say our cats are trained to use the toilet, but we still sometimes have issues, especially when we have friends over or someone staying with us. So 8 people with one bathroom and one faucet, I can't even begin to imagine the chaos.
Not 8 people, it's 8 families.
8 families.
Yes.
And how many people were there in these 8 families? Do you remember?
Average 5 people per family household.
That's
so you
40
have
people for one bathroom.
Right, one for male, one for female, and it's a big hole on the ground, and you have to squat, and the hole is wide open. So as a little girl growing up there for 16 years in this courtyard, it was my nightmare to go to bathroom at night. And when the light bulb busted, you could not see pitch black night to go to bathroom. Nobody cared to put a new light bulb there because it cost money. It was a community bathroom. So, and we're too poor to have a flashlight. So I was scared to go to bathroom at night. It's been my childhood nightmare because you're afraid you might fall backwards into that big hole on the ground. And
I don't even like using an American porta potty. I can only imagine having to squat over a big open pit. That
Right.
just does not sound pleasant at all. And I'm sure it didn't smell good either.
Oh, yeah, once a month, especially in the summer, the smell was awful. Once a month, we have government workers come in here to dig everything out, to take to the, the farm field. So, of course, the smell, the bugs, and it was awful. We had to literally cover our nose when they came. And in the summer, bugs were everywhere, worms. And I hated that absolutely, because if you're not careful when you go squat, you step on those worms in the summer. They make this awful popping noise. It was like absolutely something I really hate. But then we had no choice. I cannot imagine how I survived for 16 years in that kind of environment. And plus, you have one water faucet. And we lined up during dinner time to get water to cook. And long lines. My dad was a smart handyman. He built a big kitchen, made from concrete, a big container to store water. In case water runs out, then you could not cook. You could not wash vegetables. So we had to go there I got good muscles when I was a little girl. I had to carry those big pots to transport water from our community faucet to our kitchen, which is my dad built outdoor kitchen, and store water. And we use coal to burn to cook food. And I was the oldest child, and I supposed to cook rice before my parents come home. But sometimes the coal, they just collapse, and some reason they just collapse. And I was so scared. That means whole family will not have dinner, will not have rice to eat. And I was afraid my dad was going to spank me. So I had to run away to my great aunt. She protected me from my dad. It's like, don't spank her. It was not her fault. The coal stove just collapsed. And when it collapses, you have to start all over again. You take a long time, so you don't have time to cook dinner. So my dad, will promise will not spank me. That's how I went home again. But my job is to, after school, come home, cook rice every day. And I supposed to take care of the coal stove too, make sure it does not collapse. And so that was just like my childhood life is constantly struggling just to be fed. And the memory, just poverty, hungry, and of course, political, social chaos. Our entire city is like a big military camp. Every morning, 6 o'clock, the big microphone in the community comes on, sing revolutionary songs and news and all the political propaganda. And so we all had to wake up. Time to go to school, time to go to work. And my dad was very hardworking. I remember he had to get up real early to catch public bus to go to his state factory to work. And one time that he fell down because the bus was always extremely crowded. He couldn't afford a bicycle. One time he fell down and the bus just, almost ran him over. just next to his ears and took off. And he came home really scared to say, I was almost killed today. I was a child. I remember that very well. My dad his face was all like really like pale. And he was feared for his life. He said, I got to save money to get a bicycle. So he didn't have to go to crowded bus every early in the morning.
Those sound like some very terrifying and not very pleasant childhood memories. So you were 16 when you left China. How did you leave China?
Oh, I wasn't 16. I said we lived in that community.
Okay, so what happened? So when did your life change? Did you sleep indoors when you were in that courtyard, or were you all sleeping outdoors, or?
We sleep indoors, and we had a 2-room apartment provided by my dad's estate factory. The 2 rooms literally had no concrete floors. It was like a muddy floor, so in the winter, it was so wet and cold, and actually it started to grow mushroom inside. I remember that it was a freezing cold, and we had no heat and no air conditioning. We had no refrigerator. The worst was just, of course, the winter. We could not fall asleep. It was so cold. It was wet cold, and it would take a long time to fall asleep. We had to use a big plastic, some kind of container to put boiling hot water inside to warm up our bed, then to go sleep. And I had to share a bedroom with my parents for my entire 16 years. My 2 brothers share another bedroom, and there's no living room or family room, just 2 rooms, the outdoor kitchen and for cooking. And I just remember in the summer, the flood would come down to us. We're coming to our apartment. Now we all had to get up to make a break wall to stop water from coming. And the summer, you couldn't fall asleep. It was so hot and humid. And you had to sleep inside the mosquito net, because that's where mosquito would eat you alive. So we had to sleep inside the mosquito net. It was so hot. It was hard to fall asleep. Every 2 hours you woke up and you were soaked by the sweat. And then that's how I lived there. I just couldn't believe, I never dreamed about the house I would have today in the United States. It cannot.
I can imagine. It must, when you first saw a house in the United States, it must have seemed almost like a palace.
Yes, they were like castles and palaces to us. So I was 12 when Mao died, and we, as students in the government schools, we were so brainwashed. Mao was like our God. So when he died, we feel totally lost. And we cry our eyes out, just so sad and crying for a long time. And of course, the everyday music was all sad, and in the community microphone and the big speakers. But then party come out later to say Mao is a human being. He made a mistake. 10 years Cultural Revolution was a mistake. So imagine my generation. That was our religion. We were not permitted to practice any other religion. It was all about the communist indoctrination. Chairman Mao was our savior.
Wow.
And supreme leader. So when party come out to denounce him, kind of to say he was human being, okay, he made a mistake. Think about my generation. We were so sad. We were so lost. We did not know what to believe. And I was about 14 years old. But thank goodness that the university was reopened, reinstated. So I could now have a new dream to go to university, to leave my hometown, go somewhere where I would learn more and see other parts of China. So I basically turned all my energy focus to be a best student, to study, to pass this 3 whole days nationalized college entrance exam. Way you have to pass this test in order to be going to state universities. They were only state universities anyway. So if you do not pass that test, you have to stay in your own hometown just to become a worker.
Could you take the test again or only once?
You can test. You can take again, but normally when you take again next year, it's once a year. Then it's harder because you don't have teachers, you don't have a school environment. You'll be studying on your own. You have to spend money to get some side help. And I was lucky. I mean, I was a pretty good student. I know how to study. So I passed those 3 whole days college exam. Just imagine you could take ACT for 3 days from 8 hours a day and your brain will explode after that. But I was determined the only way I can change
really
my life.
Sounds dreadful. 3 whole days of exams. And students here complain about 4 and 5 hour worth of exams at a time.
Well, they're saying that we're not just 3 days exam. It's you spend your entire high school. For me, it was 2 years high school career to study for those tests. So you have to memorize and you have to be good with all these subjects. And the bad students were ruled out from taking this test. I had to take a standardized exam to determine which high school I should go to and do I get on fast track or slow track. The slow track is for students who are late boomers, not so good on grades, and some might be having mental health issues. And they were so sad. At the age of 14, they were told, you're going to be peasants, you're going to be workers. You have no shots in college.
So basically, if you didn't pass that first, your whole future was essentially determined at age of 14 by one exam.
Right. And I know it's horrible. It sounds horrible. And I don't like a teacher to study to test because like my baby brother was a great student. He failed the college test by a few points. And because my mom was sick, he was distracted. My mom was in the hospital. So you could be a good student, but then just that day something happened. You could not perform to your best level and you cannot go to college. He had to go to become a power plant technician. Then later they sent him to 3 years some technical school to learn about power plant. But he never finished his 4 years, never went to 4-year state college. And he really regret that. And he worked for that power plant actually in the city for 27 years. He just came over from China last year as legal immigrant after waiting for 13 years. After waiting for 13 years in line to come here with his wife and his kid.
Okay, so he applied as a legal immigrant with his wife and his child, and it took 13 years to process his application.
Right. If I was Mexican, I look at the charts, the quotas. If I was Mexican, my brother would have to wait for about 17, 18 years to come here. It's insane.
Okay, and everyone complains about our immigration policy, and given these wait times, obviously I was born in this country, so I know nothing about the immigration policies and wait times, or very little, only what I catch on the news.
Yeah, but American people don't know. If they did not go through this system, they don't know how hard it is to come here legally. So people have the incentive to come here illegally to take their even life risk. So I don't understand when you talk about this issue, how come they just could not fix the legal immigration issue? It's bizarre. It's like they wanted to keep this status quo. But anyway, back to college exam. I scored high. I was one of the 3 students in a big province with probably Sichuan province probably had 20 million people. I went to Shanghai Fudan University Law School. I was one of the 3 students from that province, got accepted to law school. The reason I wanted to study law, here's another story about my high school teacher. I was 16. He was sick. I went to visit him as class president. And he told me his life story. When he was a fresh college graduate in the 50s, the Communist Party encouraged college students to give them true feedback, tell us how we are doing. They were naive. They told their true feedback. And they put them on the blacklist, and they sent them to countryside. The government sent them to countryside to be re-educated by the peasants. And so my teacher said, China is ruled by men, not ruled by law. Overnight, me and other college students who criticized party just were sent to the countryside for years, and his health was ruined. So I thought that if I go to law school, maybe I can transform China one day from society ruled by men to a rule of law society. I have a big ambitions and big dream. So
that is a big dream, to transform an entire country. I'm sorry, that is a huge dream.
Of course, I was naive. I was barely 17. The law school was a 4 years college degree, not a JD. So from the age of 17 to 21, I spent 4 years in Shanghai to study law. We become very disenfranchised because we were told in our law school, the purpose of law is not what we thought to protect, rights and freedom and the property, nothing like that. We were told it was Soviet Union model, and the law was a tool for the government to use to govern its people, its masses, so-called. So we were so depressed.
The laws were there so the government could essentially do whatever it wanted.
Yeah, to use it to govern the people, to do punishment. When I first went to law school, we did not even have commercial laws. All we had was a criminal law, the law theory and the law history and civil law and procedure laws and the constitution law. We did not even have all the business economic laws until later we start to learn about, patent laws and some international laws because China was opening up and to the outside world for investment. But still, when it comes to freedom speech, freedom press, all those fundamental rights that are listed in our constitution were not really exist in reality. So we say, hey, professor, so why is like that? We actually have those rights listed in constitution, but the people go to jail if they take to street. Just shook his head.
Okay. China does have a constitution that says you have freedom of speech and freedom of the press, but yet the government jails people. I mean, I recently did a little bit of research on Tiananmen Square, and I remember vaguely some of it being on the news when I was a child, but I was a child when this all happened. And so I didn't quite understand what was going on. And I found out that to this day, the government censors any mention of that day and that incident.
Well, that right before, just June 4th, a few days ago, Beijing government actually put one of the, they call it like victim mothers, actually, on house arrest. And they watched Tiananmen Square very, very carefully. You could not have any events, public events there. They tied up security. So the only place that people could have a memorial for the victim of Tiananmen Square massacre, it was in Hong Kong. Hong Kong had about 100,000 people going out that night on June 4th and light up candles and play and the music and to have a memorial for those people. And for 27 years, Chinese government do not mention about this and do not teach students about this. I talked to some college students graduated from Chinese universities. When I met them like in Italy on a trip. They all had a vacation that time. They could not know the details of Tiananmen Square massacre. They just say, we heard about it, but we don't know what happened, and it's not mentioned in schools. And sometimes their parents, in order to protect their kids, to talk about this publicly, they also don't teach their kids at home. So you have a whole bunch of college kids have money, they can afford to buy Gucci bags, nice watches, and they don't know what happened just a few years before they were born in China.
That almost seems criminal to me. I mean, it would be like the United States trying to whitewash its history and wipe out the Civil War.
Well, the winners always write histories. That's what happened. We still have party dictatorship.
The winners do write the history, but at least I will say our country did at least acknowledge that there were two sides and some of the stuff that's going on, and more as the internet has been growing.
Right.
More and more has been coming out.
Chinese government censors internet. You cannot access Google easily from China or Facebook, and so lots of masses, we call the regular people, they just don't know the truth. That's why they still support the communist dictatorship regime, because they were brainwashed. Whatever they do, it's good for them. Right now you have the regime censors internet and put dissidents in jail. and in the name of anti-corruption. So Chinese people say, yeah, anti-corruption is good.
Okay,
it's good.
so they put people who speak out against the government in jail for quote-unquote anti-corruption.
Well, that they arrest about 30 human rights lawyers in recent couple years, and then torture them for them to confess that they did try to overthrow the government. And those news are not broadcast in China. But they also, put lots of officials out of jobs and arrest them in the name of corruption. There was one billionaire was executed, lost all his assets one night because of corruption, and they even put up like public trials, and so people, we just don't know. You don't know the truth. When Chairman Mao started the Cultural Revolution, he also used that to purge his political enemies. But the young people were used by him to say, we got to clean out revisionists inside of our party. We got to clean out cultural revolutionary, counter-revolutionaries, or revisionists, or the intellectuals who are anti-government dissidents. So young people were naive and used by Mao. Then later, Mao finished with them to say, you guys go to countryside to be re-educated by peasants. My favorite uncle was...
I have to say, that sounds a lot like the Hitler Youth of his day.
Right. There is a common ground. My uncle was 17 when he was sent to the countryside near Burma, and 2 days bus ride. And he come home 27 without diploma from high school, without skills, with bad health, and very sad Red Guard generation. That's why I tell college students in our country today, be critical thinkers. Don't be used by government propaganda to actually silence other dissidents, because I feel like a cultural revolution is coming to United States college campus now. The political correctness is such a big pressure on everybody. You cannot say what you really think. But then learn from
that you mentioned political correctness. I did an interview this morning with a former cop from the UK, and they've gone so politically correct over there that police officers are told they have to try and hide their eating and drinking during Ramadan to appease the Muslims. They have to, and when there's when a Pakistani or a Middle Eastern male commits a crime, say they sexually assault a woman, the media prints it as if an Asian did it, which I think is an insult to A, people's intelligence, and B, to the Asian community in the UK.
Well, that's why I think that, the world has really gone to dark side. America now is really not to stand on earth for freedom. I have to fight here now. I have no place to go.
So how did you get out of China? What happened? You go to university, and what happens next?
I graduated from law school. I become faculty member in a local law school because they need the teachers badly. And after I become working faculty member, that's when I lost all my hope to transform China into a rule of law society. Each law school, each department has a communist committee leaders, and they're in charge of everything, not your dean. Dean is just doing academics, but the communist block committee, committee leadership is in charge of everything.
So basically there's a Communist Party watcher looking over your shoulder all the time.
Yeah, in my law school, and this leader just he and I did not get along. He was constantly bothering me, and with some other leaders, and tell you how you live your life. Besides review my lectures to what to teach, and he told me I cannot even go out to do the things on my personal time, like go out to have fun, go to dance parties with my students. They were just 1 or 2 years younger than me, and tell me I cannot even go to visit my boyfriend's parents' house. They invite me over to have a hot meal, dinner.
Okay, and how can they control what you do in your off time? This is just insanity in my mind.
Well, you have no idea. The pressure was so big for correct lifestyle. We call the correct, political correct lifestyle, because I was not married. So to the hardline communists, if you're not married to somebody, you shouldn't go to their home to visit and have a home meal and have a sleepover, share bed with like their daughter. They just assume you're guilty of doing something that's not politically correct. And I fought back because I thought those were my personal time, my personal freedom, and it's not related to my job. He should not have no business in it. Oh, but he was in my hair every day. And here's somebody from United States put some concept in my brain when I was in college. And I met an American student. He showed me a pocket, a Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. With my limited English, I could understand those words. All men are created equal. I have undeniable natural rights given to me by my creator, not by my government. Those words were so magical to me. They really, it's like make my...
How old were you when you saw this Constitution?
I think I was 19 to 20 years old. 19 to 20.
So you were still in law school when you first
right.
saw our Declaration of Independence and Constitution.
Yes, China was opening up. We had a foreign exchange students, but they were like, if you want to go to their dorm to visit them, you have to register at the gate. So at the beginning, I registered at the gate to go visit him. We met at the party. He told me about this. I want to go back to more times to visit him. So I had to go bypass this lady who was watching the gate. And they ask all Chinese students to register if they want to go see foreign professor or student. So I learned not to register because I was afraid they're going to single me out to say, why are you going to visit a foreign student so often? So I had to just sneak in when she was not paying attention, like going to bathroom or putting a tea or something, and very quietly. So I visited him many times. He told me about America. He showed me the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. I was so fascinated. He changed my life. He put something in my head. If I have to leave China someday to go to another country, America is a country I wanted to come. And that moment came after lost hope as a faculty member. I'm not going to change China, and they're going to take a soul out of me and make me an unhappy person. So I decided I'm going to leave China by applying to graduate school in this country and on my own. So I could come here if I was accepted by a university. But the problem is, how do I leave? You have to get your Communist Party boss to give you permission to apply for passport. So I had to stop fighting with my boss. I had to start smile, butter him up, and later.
So you had to appear to be the perfect party, follow all the party lines and play nice every day.
Right. For a few months, I start to really be nice to him and doing all the right things. So he could give me permission to leave. And he said, finally, you can leave, but you have to sign this agreement. The agreement to say that if I don't go back to Shanghai, I will be kicked out of a Communist Party. Of course, we were forced to join anyway. And if you work for law school, you have to join the party. I didn't care about that. I said, okay. But another one is kind of hard. Another one, they will send my personnel file from Shanghai to Chengdu. Personnel file was originally a student file. It's a secret personal file, documents everything about you. And you cannot see it. Your parents cannot see it. So if they send that file to Chengdu, that means I can never go back to Shanghai to work, to get a job, to start business. And because you have to go.
Can you visit China?
You can visit, but you cannot officially getting job work there because personnel file is your official residential status in China. It's like a national ID basically. And so it will have dark shadow there to say I never went back. And they started to track us when we were first grade in school. The Chinese government controls its population really, really tightly. And you have a household registration. Like when my mom and dad get married and they have to register with local police, they're a married couple, where they live. and what do they do for their job. It's all registration. That when I was born, they add a family member or lose family member, you have to register again. So they control family household like that. Then each individual has a file. So my file today, guess what? It's still in China, in my hometown, Security Bureau somewhere, lying there, and that has all my extended family information. That's how they control the population. That's why Chinese are afraid. I mean, how do they rise up anti-government? One person becomes anti-government, you're going to put your entire extended family at risk.
So when you decided to leave China, did you fear for your extended family?
Well, at that time, I was not. I was desperate to leave, and I was young. I had no family, and I was not married. I was single. I was about 24 years old. I finally come to United States, and I did not go back. I did go back a visit, but I did not go back officially to live there, because after married to my husband, who is American citizen, I eventually become citizen, and I could go back, feel safer that they could not stop me from coming back to my country, because I don't have a Chinese passport anymore. I have American passport. But by running for U.S. Senator, who knows, who is watching me, watching my speeches, and I'm pretty outspoken against the communism, socialism, dictatorship. I'm all for freedom and limited government. So I don't know, but we cannot live in fear. That's why I tell Americans, if I can manage my fear to be outspoken, what are you afraid of? You should be more outspoken against your powerful and increasingly unlimited government here. That's how we can actually take our country back. I'm so worried that it took me forever to come to this country. But then I woke up, really got rid of my, statism, which I believed by being.
Okay, when you first came to this country, so you were enrolled in graduate school. I assume you attended graduate school?
Right, I went to University of Texas at Austin. That's where I went to.
Oh, wow, what a place to go to school. I mean, that's like America 101 right there in Texas.
Right. I love the Texas people. They were so warm to me. And tell you the funny story, I met my husband the first night I showed up at Austin. He was single. He never dated girls. He was just waiting for his soulmate to show up. And I showed up and delivered myself to his mom's, doorstep for free. And we've been married now happily for 26 years.
That is an amazing story. That really is.
Isn't it romantic? It's kind of romantic.
That is romantic. It really is. I mean, it's just... So you were able to secure permission to leave China. Now, while you were in graduate school, did you start the process to become a citizen, or did you wait until you got married? How did you work all that?
Oh, I think that I started to apply for a green card after I got married to John. And then 5 years after that, you can apply for citizenship.
How long did it take for you to get, since we're talking about immigration waits, how long did it take being the spouse of an American citizen to get your green card?
I think back then it was about 6 months, and today I heard it takes longer now because you have so many people. When I applied for my green card, I think that time I was in Austin, and there are not that many people apply. So 6 months later, I got my green card. I took John back to China with me for the first time. I married myself out without my family checking him out because I was afraid to go to China without green card. I could be stopped and not be able to come back. So I had to send the pictures to my family, tell them how wonderful young man he was and trust me for my decision, and explain to everybody in his family what they do. He's from an intellectual family. Mom, dad were PhDs, and actually his mom was my dean in the University of Texas. So I told everybody that trust me for my choice. So my family had a meeting in China to say, oh, we should just trust her since she will come home after she get married and have a green card. And so I basically married myself out with John without one single family from China in attendance. I had no families in the United States, and I had some friends who came. I put my family portraits. Everybody was in the picture on the waiting table to kind of show, hey, they were there with me in spirit. And so I married and then took John back to China in 1991 with my green card. Then a few years later, I decided to become an American citizen. And so that was, you have to at least wait for 5 years to become American citizen after your green card.
Right.
Yeah.
So as soon as you got your green card, did you essentially start counting down the number of years until you could get your citizenship?
Not really, because to tell you the truth, when you were brainwashed all your life, it's hard to reverse it. When I first came over, even though I was fighting against my boss and the government, but I did not have the concepts what freedom really means. I did not understand. I just knew I wasn't happy. I was fighting them. But
what did you think when you saw people dressed all differently, running around doing basically what appeared like whatever they wanted? What did you think of all this?
My biggest challenge was my biggest also joy, surprise is going to a grocery store. It was full of products and shelves were full. I had to stand up there for a long time to look at 10 different brands of shampoo brand to decide what kind I should get. I had so many choices I never had before. How should I choose? And my husband had to teach me to see the name brand, the per cost per ounce, and the blah, 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 what kind of hair. I mean, it's like after I got used to that kind of making your choice as consumer process, I loved it. I learned how to be a good shopper now. But in China, we had no choice. Like when I was growing up, you had one brand, government brand detergent, it's gonna take your clothes color off. We had no choices in terms of product in the stores. There were not many even products available. So I loved shopping experience and the beautiful, nice, clean, spacious.
What was it like the first time you walked into like a Walmart or something? I could only imagine that.
Yes, actually, I walked to a local grocery store in Austin. It was just so impressive. It's clean, it's big, it's bright light inside. I had to take a long time to shop because I did not know what to buy.
Well, you could probably handle the fresh vegetable section because there's usually only one kind of fresh carrots, but...
Yeah, vegetables, great, and meat, great, all nicely packaged. Instead of we go to street market in China, we pick up something, we're just like cut off, open aired, and the fact to shop indoor is so nice. Instead of outside when in the winter or in the summer, or tough climate to go outside, and the market actually closed after a few hours, but the shopping inside somewhat 24 hours is so nice. Of course, my biggest shock is also nobody is in the street. It was not crowded. I just came over from like a 1.2 billion Chinese country, and I come to Austin to say, where are your people? No bicycles, no crowd. It was a big culture shock, and I went through, and I couldn't speak English. When I first came over, I borrowed $100 from friends, so I had $100 cash in my pocket. Then all my professor, like $1,200 for university fees and air tickets, and he sponsored me. So it was very hard for me to understand even graduate school classes, and professors were talking so fast, and I did not know how to pay my bills. Thank goodness I got a research assistantship job when I first came over. My dean offered me that job. I said I didn't know what to do. She said, "Oh, don't worry, just check numbers. I'm a psychologist. I do research." And so I met the John first night. I had a job offer. I thought my American dream is good. It's like what a great beginning, right? Except I still struggled in school and tape recording professors' lectures in the classroom. and trying to study on my own. My first paper I wrote was such a broke English, if I look at today, it was so bad, probably you could not understand it. But I carry my pocket dictionary all the time and my notebook. I try to learn English fast, and I try to communicate with local people. And so I after 2 years, especially after first year, living in an English environment, I could participate in class discussion in graduate school. I studied social work, so I was surrounded by Democrats. And at the beginning, I mean, they're nice people, honestly, very compassionate people.
I was going to say, they're wonderful on the compassionate side, but they tend to like to spend a little too much money in my book.
Well, that's why I never become Democrat once I become citizen, because I know they're compassionate. They identify problems correctly, but they do not offer right approach as solutions. They always tend to use government. I wasn't sure about that, because what I feared most is unlimited government after I went through tyranny. So I become independent for many years, just trying to learn. We started family, have 3 children. We worked in Hong Kong for 2 years. I wasn't political at all at the beginning, just trying to, raise family and building a career.
So you went to Hong Kong. Now, for listeners that don't know, what's the difference between living in Hong Kong, especially when you went there, versus mainland China? What year was it when you went there?
I went to Hong Kong in 1996 when Hong Kong was still a British colony. And we loved Hong Kong. It was one of the freest market economy in the world. Everybody had some business, and you rarely see homeless people.
And Hong Kong reverted to China in 2000?
No, 1997.
1997. So you had 1 year.
Were there for 1 year. We were there for 1 year. And in 1997, actually, we watched on TV. It was raining that day. We wanted to go out, but it was raining hard. Then the Hong Kong turned over to China from British government. And so it become a so-called special administrative region under Beijing's rule, but they promised to keep everything the same. So we just noticed the flag changed, but we did not notice much difference, because I was working in Hong Kong as a corporate executive, and my husband was working full-time as expat for Hughes Aircraft, and we stayed there for 2 years and enjoying Hong Kong, especially their flat tax income system. At the end of year, they send you a postcard, and you basically do your own reporting. You send them after a couple of basic deductions, let's say 10% flat income tax, how much you owe government. Then you send the check in with a postcard. It was just stress-free. It was so nice and so easy.
Okay, I cannot imagine doing my taxes on a postcard. The stacks of paper we go through.
Yeah, that's what we had. It was great, and I really hate to see Hong Kong now get messed up by Beijing. But the Hong Kong people are industrial people, working hard, very entrepreneur-like. I worked 6 days a week when I was in Hong Kong for a private company doing trade, and visited factories and learning about international trade. We had 2 little boys that time, and we hired a Filipino maid to take care of them in Hong Kong, and we learned a lot. And later, my husband's contract, his company contract with the Hong Kong Airport Authority ended, so we had to come home. Then we had another little girl. After we came home, I worked for a telecom company here in Denver, and they went busted 2000. After the telecom.
What made you go to Denver after living in Texas?
Oh, because the company sent us to Hong Kong. It's called a Hughes Aircraft. They are based in Aurora here, Metro Denver.
Okay, so your husband's job is what predicated the move
to
Colorado.
We come back here. We loved Colorado. Actually, for the first 6 months, he even did not have job wait for him here. They wanted to send him to California. He went there, had an interview, and he decided, no California. we probably love Colorado, want to stay here. So luckily, he got a position here. I got also a telecom job as a project manager. So we started we bought a house in Parker, 1999, 3 months before my last baby girl was born. And she's 17 now. So we've been in this house for 17 years. I got laid off 2000, and my first time got laid off by corporate America with pink slip. I did not like that at all. I feel so bad. I decided that I'm going to become an entrepreneur, start my own company. That was my part of my American dream anyway. But I just decided that, hey, you know what? I don't want to work for other companies anymore.
I do have a question for you, and this flashes back to when you first arrived in the United States in Austin. What was it like when you first saw an American bathroom? After having that open pit to squat over and all that, what was it like?
Well, under Mao, we had those community bathroom like that. But by the time I left China, I mean, they still had like stinky bathroom, but it's not as bad as under Mao. It's one big giant hole on the ground. But when I came here, the bathroom was just so pleasant. Every bathroom has toilet paper. That was very impressive, because in China, when you go outside to the street to shop, you better carry your own toilet paper. You go inside, there's nothing there. And back then in the late 80s, it still had lots of like a squat style bathrooms, not like a toilet you have here. So coming here, it's like everywhere you go has actually a toilet. You know, you sit down and they're clean. They have a toilet paper. It was so pleasant. You know, even when you go camping, and of course camping is kind of a primitive lifestyle.
Right.
But still not as bad. They don't smell bad. That was a shocking, very pleasant surprise.
Wow. So, like I said, I just thought of that as we were talking. I was like, I can only imagine, you know, every public restroom you went into,
right.
Unless they've recently run out, they have toilet paper. And if they have run out, somebody will be along momentarily to refill it.
And you have indoor plumbing. You can wash hands. You can flush toilet. That was just so nice. You have never lived in the Chinese countryside back then. You would not know how to appreciate it. But to tell you a story about me being laid off, that's when I started to get an interest in politics, because I had more time now working from home to get involved. And my husband trying to work with me and to read some books and trying to turn my, mentality around, because I was statist when I first came over. I did not know, besides the government, who is going to help us solve our problems. I did not know freedom, free market are the answers. I had to read some economics books. I had to read Ayn Rand. And I become a Republican because John told me he's a lifetime libertarian. But I told him, you guys are so small. You cannot ever win any office. So I become Republican. I thought I like this small, limited government platform and the fiscal conservative side. But in 2008, I was fed up. And I watched how our government grows. And under Bush, under Republican control, the Congress for both chambers. So I told John, I said, you know what? I really identify with Libertarian Party's platform, and then libertarianism is totally opposite side of statism, communism. I said, I like that. And I'm fed up with the Republican Party, so I joined Libertarian Party 2008. I have been libertarian ever since. So from statist in China to libertarian, it took me 20 years in this country.
That's a long journey. Now, I do have a couple questions for you about your libertarian beliefs. I was listening to the presidential debate, and some of the more radical libertarians don't even want state-owned roads, and every person owns the road has the right to determine if you need a license or drunk driving, if drunk driving's permitted or things like that. And I think, no offense, I think that's taking it to the extreme. I do think there's certain things like roads and driver's license that the state should be responsible for, but I certainly don't want them telling me what bathroom I can use.
Yeah, well, I think that under libertarianism, basically, the rule of government is minimized by our Constitution. The Constitution says the government role is to protect life, liberty, property, and national defense. If we can just limit the government rule
and I believe there was also something about interstate commerce, but it may be in an amendment.
Well, libertarians always say, without government, who is build the roads? And so when it comes to roads, some libertarians believe the private sector will probably do better job, maintain it better by charging a user fee. Right now, if you look at our highways, they do have lots of maintenance issues. And where did those money go? We pay gas taxes, and then we pay lots of taxes to federal government, and then that support the transportation department. Then they
personal opinion, I think it's being lost on too many bureaucrats. I think maybe the state government should be able to keep their own gas taxes, and the state should own the roads inside their state borders.
Yeah, local control certainly is better than federal control.
Like I said, I don't think there are turnpikes and things that are toll roads that are privately owned, and some of them are in better shape, but I have run into a few that aren't. But here's the thing. Who's to say they aren't going to charge some exorbitant user fee like $500 per trip or something obscene like that, and then they won't get the revenue they need to maintain it, and they'll fall into disrepair because no one really wants to pay $500 to drive 20 miles or whatever it is.
Well, I think some highways are running pretty good, but if you trust free market, nobody's going to charge you $500 to get on their tollway because they cannot make money. Nobody wants to get on it. It's fair that if we have private roads, then we cannot afford it at all. I mean, you pay taxes anyway to support the state highways and the federal interstate highways. And means what I'm saying, I believe local control is better. And also we should open up roads for the competition, for the market. I mean, market competition always make your services and products better. Even though you don't have to participate, you still have your choice. And nobody's going to point a gun at you. You must use this product, use this road. But at least
unless you're discussing Obamacare, the healthcare system. Right. They say now that in this country we're all required to have health care.
Well, is that the government overreach?
And I think that's an overreach. Yes, I do.
It's not in the Constitution to say government has to get involved in your medical care. It's very scary. I lived under socialist medicine. I know how bad it was run, how dirty it was, how much long line you had to wait.
And for the people in the United States, just look at our own Veterans Administration healthcare. We have veterans dying on waiting lists.
Yeah, if you want to have a socialist medicine, just look at the VA, where you have long waiting lines and dying waiting. That's just a disgrace. Our veterans deserve to be treated the best. They serve the country. I support actually VA just gave all those money as a voucher to individual veterans, let them to go to private market, shop around themselves, and get the best care, and they see fit for their problems. I think that's a lot better than what we have.
What I would like to see the VA do, and I am the widow of a United States Special Forces member, and I am married to an active duty soldier. So I'm married to an active duty member of the United States Army. What I'd like to see the VA do is determine the level of disability to determine your payment, and then get out. Get out of the system. At that point, you get a voucher from the VA, and that's the extent of it.
Right, VA bureaucracy is so
But like
big.
I said, I think there should be a system, because service-connected injuries are often diagnosed a little differently, and often it takes someone who's seen multiple ones to understand that if you were a paratrooper and jumped out of planes for 15 years, you probably have bad knees.
Right.
A civilian doctor may not know that. They may know how to fix the bad knee, but they don't realize that that's service-connected from jumping out of a plane. I also think the VA should be staffed by veterans, people who have worn the uniform.
Instead of bureaucrats who really don't care that much.
Either people who've worn the uniform or people who are married to those who've worn the uniform. Because trust me, as a spouse, I love the soldiers, and there's very little I won't do to help a soldier.
Well, I have a son who is an Air Force officer right now. He graduated from Air Force Academy. He is a lieutenant now.
Wow, when did he graduate?
He graduated 2 years ago, and so we all were so proud of him. Now he's actually stationed in Colorado Springs, and 40 minutes of 50 minutes away from home. which is nice. We get a chance to see him. And I really would support voucher system.
But like I said, I do think the VA should be involved insofar as, okay, you're getting out of the service, let's determine what your service-connected injuries and illnesses and all this, that, and the other are. Here's your percentage disability. Now we sign you up for the vouchers. You get a voucher every month or every X months. And if you need more, here's how you apply for more.
If you, I mean, that's a good practical solution. You basically determine where they're at, how much voucher they should receive, and then they can go to private market, shop around themselves. When you give consumers money directly, they have a power, and the competition for your money really drives up the quality.
Exactly.
Yes, that's not hard to understand. Just look at our car insurance. We can buy insurance for cars cross the country, cross state lines, and we can shop around. But then we cannot do that with our health care. Why is that? That's a monopoly. That's each state's law kind of prevent people from shopping.
Like your internet service. How many internet companies do you have available where you live? High-speed internet.
Yeah, quite a few. So you can, decide.
See, around where I live, we have one, maybe two, and there's only really one good one.
Oh, okay. We have cable right now, but they say is though that monopoly, and I have Democrat friends who hate corporate greed or corporate like corruption. But I'm telling them, do you know why they're corrupt? Why they're greedy? Because they can buy politicians. If you keep voting for bigger government, and the bureaucrats have the power, and the Congress have the power, you give incentives to those big corporation lobby for their own special interests. So the real evil is the two of them join force together against us, the taxpayers. So we're subsidized, paying for everything, but we don't have our investment returns. So what we need to do is get to roots of problem, which is limit government power, size, and scope over our lives, over our healthcare, over education, over economy. So the lobbyists have to go home. There's nothing much to lobby for anymore. That's what I intended to do when I go to Washington as a U.S. Senator. I will not support any corporate warfare, and I will not vote for any corrupted bills that's expanding government and expenses of taxpayers' monies. My famous slogan here, you can find out on lilyforliberty.com. My website is Lily for Liberty, not for sale. Libertarians are very clear on this.
And I do think that is an awesome slogan. Now, back to another politician's thing. He wants to provide free college. Well, you know what, Bernie Sanders, there already is a free college program. It's called the GI Bill, or the Military Service Academies.
Right. That I do go out trying to connect with the Bernie supporters. They are the young people who really don't understand economics. They don't understand what a socialism means. I tell them my life in China, and we had to trap rats to supplement our protein, right? We only had 2.2 pounds of pork per month. We had to trap rats to eat. Have you really tried the rat meats before? That's what the people do now today.
No,
in
thanks.
Venezuela, people are eating animals, eating cats, because they don't have food to eat. So when you have actually government play central economy, have a planned economy, involved in economy, you don't have productivity in the society. You are short of products, short of services, and pretty much you soon collapsing the countries we see today. Then you'll be fighting for food and use violence. It's a horrible nightmare. Why do we want to go there? China today is becoming more free market oriented, but we want to go back to more central economy oriented. And free college at what cost? Professors teach you for free. Other staff work there for free. No, somebody has to get paid for their time, efforts, and service. So somebody has to pay for that. If you want taxpayer to pay for that, 80, 70, 60% taxes on everybody.
Thanks, I'll pass.
Yeah, it's like we don't want that because, libertarians believe taxation is theft, it's armed robbery, it's the government pointing a gun at you. You must give me your part of your fruits of your labor, or you are going to prison.
I would love to see our taxes done like you had in Hong Kong, a flat tax. Or better yet, even a national sales tax, so that those who save aren't penalized. It's just you buy something, you pay the tax.
Right. My ideal vision for taxes is consumption tax. You volunteer, buy something, you pay something. So we don't have to file personal tax return every year to tell government where we live, how much we make, who we work for.
And for all the people out there who say, how are you going to fund the government? Well, you know what? There are states that don't have personal income taxes.
Right.
Or very, very low ones, but they have state sales taxes.
But we got to be careful, though, Jess. Before we repeal personal income tax, we don't want to add consumption tax. Otherwise, the government will keep both over your head. That would be horrible. So
that's true.
Repeal,
they need to be tied so that one gets eliminated on like December 31st and the other one kicks in on January 1st.
Right. Before we have a volunteer consumption tax, before we repeal personal income tax, 16th Amendment, I would support flat income tax for both corporations and for individuals. 10%. That would be my ideal. Of course, getting less and less is always a good step to getting there. And eventually we get rid of IRS, we get rid of, income tax. And that would be just, great way. And our economy will create so much wealth, so many jobs by private sectors, and government will be leaner and less expensive and will be focused on its core functions. And everybody can prosper. Right now, the system we have is really bad for the poor, lower income people to prosper. The heavy regulation from bureaucrats are like a fourth branch of government. You want to start business, you pay high fees to get your permit, to get your license, and pay lots of money to go get the training. So they would rather see you get on government welfare instead of start your own company. When more and more people get on government dole, guess what? It's like in China, everybody was on government dole. Then you lose all your freedom, all your rights, and your life actually becomes a poverty, hunger. It's not fun at all.
I do have to say something about when it comes to government control. There's a reason I am part of an online radio station. Guess what? It's on the internet. It's not regulated by the FCC. We don't need a government license. The only licenses we have are so we can legally play commercial music because of royalty fees. That's it. We have no FCC license because we are an internet-based radio station. And our founding principle is the First Amendment.
Right. This is great so far, but you know what? Be careful. They might come after you too. Europe, EU already made all their high-tech companies now to censor people on internet about their freedom of speech. Anything you say is not politically correct now, then that you could be censored. So I'm afraid for our country. This might come to America soon. So that's why we need to have all the Americans to be politically active, to know what is at stake. Some people don't get involved because they don't like politics. I don't like politics either, but they affect your life every day. They run your lives. So how can you sit idle by, just silenced, and let them to do this? And then your children will have a different country. It will not be America anymore. So I'm doing this for selfish reasons. I'm running. I want to keep this country as free as possible. So my children, grandchildren can have the free country I came here for, can achieve their American dreams.
I believe President Ronald Reagan said something to the effect of, freedom isn't passed on in the bloodstream. We have to teach it to our children and teach them how to defend it and protect it so that they can pass on an even freer society to their children. Otherwise, we'll be sitting on our front porch telling our children of what it was like when America was free.
How did our young people love socialism today? It already signified that our public school education has failed our young people. They don't teach them history. They don't teach them about how to be a true patriotic Americans.
Do I even need to bring up the topic of safe spaces at universities for a single thought and people getting bullied and badgered on universities for trying to bring up an opposing point of view?
Yeah, it's a cultural revolution coming to American campuses. I have been outspoken to protect our freedom of speech in a civil society. If you lose that, imagine that everybody is conforming, everybody is silenced. It will be a horrible life. I mean, I went through that in China. That's why I tell people I don't care what other people think. I'm going out to tell the truth and to tell my stories. I can never be silenced ever again. I treasure this freedom because I never had that before. We had to actually keep our mouth shut in Chinese schools. We had to write diaries to confess our thoughts and tell other people about our neighbors and friends who say something incorrect. It was a total tyranny. You better not to even say truth to your family members because they might tell their boss and their leaders, and you will be in trouble. It really tear family apart. You make neighbors don't trust each other, and nobody trusts anybody. I had to learn that in a hard way. When I was 7, I was told that by my teacher, I cannot join Young Pioneer because I was too confident. Because I told my girlfriend, I'm such a good student, I'll be first one to join. She reported to my teacher, and my teacher denounced me publicly and, humiliated me. And I learned at the age of 7, I cannot trust anybody. I need to conform. I need to be like everybody else. I cannot stand out, say something.
And so you played the everybody else game long enough to get out of China.
Right, I played that to actually move up. I become a Young Pioneer, I become Red Card, because as a child, as a believer of your government, you feel like that's the right thing to do. They indoctrinate me to believe I was wrong, I was not humble, I should be conforming to a collective society. To be humble like everybody else, that means to be quiet like everybody else. I could not even smile that much. If you smile at the wrong time, wrong place, you get criticized. Like, why are you happy, so happy? Everybody else was not smiling. I was born to be very happy, optimistic person and sociable. I had to bite my tongue sometimes and not to smile to show my teeth. In that kind of society that the college students today want to go live in there. Classic liberals means you really value freedom of speech, not to silence people. And the freedom of speech is about to accept people who say something you hate, you don't like, you don't approve. Otherwise, everybody says something you like, of course, no problem. That's exactly the point. So
I like to say a couple things on my show. One, I believe in freedom of speech. I will fight to the death for your right to say whatever you want, although I may challenge your beliefs because there is a freedom of speech, but there is no right not to be offended.
Right. That's exactly the point.
I will fight for someone's right to come on and speak their mind. I've had people with opposing points of view on my show. I have no problem giving them time to speak. It's just, I warn them up front. I will challenge. I won't call you names. I won't personally demean you. I will challenge your positions.
I do want to say another thing when it comes to freedom of speech. I would like to see our people united. Let's not demonize each other. Let's give each other tolerance for different views, because in China, they divided people into 10 classes during Cultural Revolution, 5 red, 5 black. We were conquered by the government. At the end, all of us lost our freedom, our rights. It doesn't matter which class you belong to. So I would like to see American citizens, regardless your party affiliation, your ideology, let's focus on common ground. And let's have an honest conversation about what is the best approach to save our country, save our families' future. Not demonize each other, not call bad names. I'm willing to go to any parties, any groups to get my face front of people to have a conversation. I don't care if you're liberal, if you're conservative, I'm a libertarian, so what? Let's seek common ground. That's the only way we're going to save our country. If our country continue to be divided by gender, by race, by color, by age, Guess what? 1% of ruling political elites will rule us all. We are just regular folks. We should
That's
be
not the way it's supposed to work.
right.
I have a song I'm going to email you after we get off the air, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's called The Day Google Died. It's about basically the First Amendment dying.
Oh, that's sad.
But the way they did it was so funny.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It's a very funny song. In fact, I'll probably play it to close out the show today because it's just, as much as we've been talking about the First Amendment, it's just such a funny song.
Right.
I mean, it's quite an amusing song. It probably sounds sad, but the way they do it, you just have to laugh.
Yeah, I would like to hear that.
I'll email it to you when we get off the air. But anyway, so you are running for Senate because you would like to basically change the world, for lack of a term. Or change this country and make sure that it doesn't become like the country you left, because I believe this is one of the last bastions of freedom left on this planet.
Right. I summarize why I'm running for U.S. Senate. I hate to see the country I love becoming more like the country I left. And I have no place to go. I believe America is still land of free, home of brave. I like to keep that way. We are going down wrong direction fast. We have federal government that's too big and too expensive, too powerful, running our lives with all the bureaucrats involved in this federal system. We have so many laws to make us criminals. We even don't know, which day we could be criminal. We have several assets forfeitures, taking our property without conviction. We have federalized education to, indoctrinate our children and track their data. I mean, we have even hard regulation coming to our neighborhood to get rid of our local neighborhood zoning laws to build whatever they want to build. And because your neighborhood is just too rich and too white, it's like, come on, is this American dream? People who don't
I don't
understand.
think so. It doesn't sound like the American dream to me if you can't live where you want and live next to who you want.
Right. And plus, look at this NSA tracking us. It's like, I told you how Chinese citizens are tracked by their government. But the NSA is tracking us like animals. We're just statistics to them, and we have no privacy. It's like I even never knew what the privacy was. Our home in China was wide open to the government, to the school teachers and principals and the policemen at night. It's like it's scary. The more I involve in politics, the more scared I become for my new country. That's why I'm running. I want people to listen to my stories, to wake up and to become political activists and to vote Libertarian. I believe Americans are all Libertarian in their heart. They just have to discover that. They have to come out, be brave, and desert their party loyalty, blind loyalty to their two major parties. Only libertarianism can save our country.
Well, I think you've made some excellent points, and I thank you very much for agreeing to this interview. And I think I will end with The Day Google Died, and I will definitely email you the song. I promise you it is very funny.
One more thing, Jessie. I want people to follow me on Facebook.
What I was going to say is before we go, give out all your social media contacts so people can reach out to you.
I have a website, lilyforliberty.com is Lily number 4. lilyforliberty.com. Lots of pictures, videos there. I also have a Facebook page, Lily for Liberty. It's same spelling with over 11,000 likes. And I want to grow that to 1 million. And I also have a Twitter. I'm new to Twitter. And so you can follow me Twitter at Lily for Liberty. So please share my stories out there.
I most certainly will. And
I want donations. I want volunteers. I want to win this race, for the liberty cause. So please help me out.
I will do what I can to spread your word, and I will also post the links to your website, your Twitter, and your Facebook page in the information section when I put this podcast up for you.
Thank you, Jess. Thanks for the opportunity to interview me.
Well, like I said, I thank you for coming on because I heard your short speech at the Libertarian Convention, and I was so moved by it. I had to hear more. And I honestly think if you could get this message out, you'd get a lot more support. And
Thank you. I will share this.
And I will also send it out to Austin Peterson because the interview I did with him absolutely got a lot of play. And I will definitely have to send this out to him because I know you have his full endorsement.
Right. I really appreciate that. And he endorsed 2 candidates. I'm one of them. So I hope his supporters, especially the one living in Colorado, will volunteer for my campaign. And if they cannot volunteer, please donate money, $10, $20. I really need that because my opponents all have tons of money.
Well, I thank you for being on, and you have an outstanding day. And I will send the link out on Twitter on Saturday, and it'll air somewhere between 3 and 6 Eastern time. But you should get a notification on your Twitter saying that you got the link, and I'll also send it out, and I'll tag Austin Peterson too. All
right. Thanks, Jess.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for doing this interview, and have an outstanding day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
A long, long time ago, I can still remember how that bandwidth used to make me smile. And anything I wished to see, it was just between I and me, without some a-hole up in D.C. crimping my style. But February made me shiver. The FCC on threats delivered, regulations were adopted, our freedoms were accosted. I can't remember if I cried when I read of rules we must abide, of legislation that wasn't looked inside the day the Google died. So bye-bye to the internet, guys. Plug my PC in with AC, but the bits were all fried. And don't you know the vote passed on party lines, singing we're all watching liberty die. We're all watching liberty die. Do you believe he loved all along a nation he found fundamentally wrong? If the media tells you so. And do you believe in all the tales of lowest learners, lost emails, or that Benghazi was caused by a video on YouTube? Well, I know McConnell's a statist tool, and his pale boners and orange fool, between them that was fine. Caving to POTUS every time. Woo, I was an exhausted pauper of middle years, with taxes and bills to drive me to tears, and a commander-in-chief confirming my worst fears the day the Google died. I started singing bye-bye to the internet, guys. Plug my PC in with AC, but the bits were all fried. And don't you know the vote passed on party lines, singing we're all watching liberty die. We're all watching liberty die. Now for 6 years we've been on our own. The Constitution's a shredded tome, but that's not how it used to be. When the Beyonce sang for the emperor, and champagne it ran onto the floor with a price tag paid by you and me. Oh, and while SCOTUS was on its ass, Obamacare was allowed to pass. The chief judge changed the law. with AC, but the bits were all fried. And don't you know the vote passed on party lines, singing we're all watching liberty die. We're all watching liberty die. I watched Lady Liberty sing the blues, and I asked her for some happy news, but she just smiled and turned away. I went down to the Apple store where I'd bought my gadgets years before, but the man there said my apps, they wouldn't play. In cyberspace, innovators screamed, the public cried, and the statist dreamed. The Constitution just a token, the internet, it was not broken. And the branches I would like to see, they don't include the FCC. Constitution says works for you and me. The day the Google died. So bye-bye to the internet, guys. Plugged my PC in with AC, but the bits were all fried. And don't you know the vote passed on party lines, singing we're all watching liberty die. We're all watching liberty die. We were singing bye-bye to the internet, guys. Plugged my PC in with AC, but the bits were all fried. And don't you know the vote passed on party lines, singing we're all watching liberty die.